I pull up to my property after a year away. Grandfather left me this land in his will. But something's wrong. There's a house here. A bright pink house that wasn't here before. I never built it. I never gave anyone permission. I get out of the car. Music blasts from inside. A banner on the balcony says, Brynn's birthday bash. Brynn is my cousin. This is her party. On my land. In a house I didn't approve. The door opens. My Aunt Gail walks out, wine glass in hand. She's Brynn's mother. She sees me and smiles like nothing's wrong. Sienna, you're back. She acts like this is normal. Like she didn't just build on my property without asking. Before you watch the rest of the story, please subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation as we go along. I stand rooted to the spot as Gail descends the stairs of the pink monstrosity. She's wearing a caftan that likely costs more than my entire year's salary. Her hair sprayed into a helmet of defiance. We didn't expect you for another week, she says, attempting to pull me into a hug that smells of expensive perfume and denial. I step back, my hands balled into fists at my sides. What is this? I ask, my voice sounding foreign and raspy to my own ears. She gestures vaguely at the house, the way one might gesture at a new throw pillow. Oh, this? Just a little improvement. The land was sitting here doing absolutely nothing, just rotting away with all those old trees. I thought I'd manage it for you while you were gone. Manage it? I look past her to where the ancient fern grottos used to be, now flattened under a concrete patio. You paved over a wetland buffer zone, Gail. Do you have any idea what you've done? She waves a manicured hand, dismissing federal environmental regulations as if they were annoying mosquitoes. Don't be dramatic, Sienna. It's a guest house. Brynn needed a place to find herself after that nasty breakup. And honestly, you're never here. I told the neighbors you probably wouldn't be coming back from the jungle anyway. The lie sits between us, cold and slippery. She told everyone I was gone for good. That explains the gravel driveway, the permanent foundation, the sheer audacity of the construction. This is my property, I say, the trembling in my hands spreading to my voice. I want everyone out. Tonight. Gail laughs, a sound like glass breaking. Don't be silly. We're family. Your grandfather wanted us to be close. Besides, I spent my own retirement money building this place. Consider it a gift that increases your property value. You should be thanking me. She turns back toward the house, where the music swells louder. Go get settled in the main cabin, dear. We'll talk in the morning when you're less emotional. I watch her walk away, the pink light silhouetting her figure. She thinks this is a negotiation. She thinks she can pave over my boundaries just like she paved over the ferns. I turn and walk toward the main cabin, the darkness of the woods feeling less like a sanctuary and more like a cage. Inside the cabin, I drop my duffel bag on the floor and sit on the edge of the bed. My hands are still shaking. I reach into my bag and pull out a small leather pouch, the one item I never let out of my sight. Inside is grandfather's compass, the brass worn smooth by decades of his thumb rubbing the same spot. I turn it over in my hands, feeling the weight of it. A memory rises, unbidden and sharp. It was 3 weeks before grandfather died. He'd been bedridden for months, his body failing even as his mind stayed sharp. But that day, he insisted on getting up. Mom and I helped him into his coat, his hands trembling as he gripped my arm. We walked together to this exact spot where the pink house now stands. He'd brought a sapling, a young oak wrapped in burlap. His hands shook so badly, I had to help him dig the hole. We planted it together, his fingers cold and papery against mine, as we pack the soil around the roots. "When this tree grows tall, you'll be stronger than you know," he whispered, his breath labored. "This land will hold you when I can't." I'd kissed his forehead, tasting salt and sickness. 3 weeks later, he was gone. I close my eyes now, the compass pressed against my chest. That tree is gone, crushed under Gail's foundation, buried under her lies. The trembling in my hands stops. Something colder takes its place. I walk to the window and look out at the pink house, lit up like a carnival attraction. Through the glass, I can see Brynn holding court, her phone out, probably live streaming or borrowed paradise. I pull out my own phone and open Instagram. It takes me less than a minute to find Brynn's account. The latest post is from 2 hours ago. A selfie in front of the guest house, her smile wide and entitled. The caption reads, "New house, new life. Hashtag lake life. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag no filter." But it's not the caption that makes my breath catch. It's the background. In the corner of the photo, barely visible behind a decorative planter, is a white PVC pipe extending from the side of the house. It disappears into the brush, heading toward the wetlands. I zoom in, my pulse quickening. That's not a drainage pipe for rainwater. That's a sewage line. And it's pointing directly at the protected creek bed. I screenshot the image and save it to a new folder on my phone. Evidence. I lie awake most of the night, listening to the muffled bass and laughter from the guest house. Somewhere around 3 a.m., the music finally stops. The silence that follows isn't the kind grandfather loved. It's the silence of something broken, waiting to be noticed. The next morning, the sun reveals the full extent of the violation. Where there were once wildflowers, there are now tire tracks. The air, usually crisp with oxygen, carries the faint, sweet stench of sewage. I make coffee in the old percolator, the same one grandfather used every morning. The familiar ritual steadies me. I'm sitting at the kitchen table when I hear a car pull into the driveway. Through the window, I see my mother's sedan. My stomach sinks. She lets herself in without knocking, carrying a reusable shopping bag full of what I assume are peace offerings. "Good morning, sweetheart," she says, her voice carefully bright. "I thought you might need some fresh food after your trip." She starts unpacking groceries, avoiding eye contact. I watch her in silence, noting the tension in her shoulders. "Mom," I say quietly, "did you know about the guest house?" She pauses, her hand hovering over a carton of eggs. "Gail mentioned she was doing some improvements," she says, the words coming out too fast. I didn't realize the extent of it until recently. Recently? I stand up, my chair scraping against the floor. "How recently?" She finally looks at me, and I see the guilt written plainly on her face. "A few months ago," she admits. "But Sienna, you have to understand. Gail has had a hard time since the divorce. She lost her house, her savings. She just wanted to feel useful." I slam my hand on the table, making the coffee cups rattle. "Useful?" "She built an illegal structure on federally protected land, Mom. She told the neighbors I abandoned this place. She lied to everyone, including you." My mother flinches, but she doesn't back down. "She's your aunt. She looked after Grandpa in his final months when I couldn't. Doesn't that count for something? Can't you just let them stay? The house is already built." The manipulation is so familiar, it almost makes me laugh. This is the script we've followed my entire life. Gail takes, and we give, because family is the magic word that erases all accountability. A memory surfaces, sharp and painful. I was 8 years old. It was Christmas morning. I'd been so excited about the doll I'd asked for, the one with the porcelain face and the blue velvet dress. When I opened it, I'd held it close, already naming her in my mind. Then Brynn, who was 4, had started crying. Her presents were smaller, fewer. Gail had turned to my mother, her voice rising. "This is ridiculous," she'd said. "Why does Sienna get more than Brynn? That's not fair to my daughter." My mother, always the peacemaker, had knelt beside me. "Sienna, honey," she'd said softly, "you're the big girl. Can you share with your cousin? Just for today?" I'd looked at the doll, then at Brynn's tear-streaked face. I'd handed it over. Brynn had stopped crying instantly, hugging the doll and running off to show Gail. I'd sat there with empty hands, learning that being good meant giving up what was mine. I look at my mother now, standing in grandfather's kitchen, asking me to give up again. "No," I say, my voice steady. "I'm not doing this anymore." I walk past her and out the door before she can respond. I need air. I need to think. I'm halfway down the path toward the wetlands when I hear the sound of a truck engine. A white pickup pulls into the driveway and a man steps out. He's tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a faded green shirt with a County Parks logo on the pocket. He looks at the main cabin, then at the pink guest house, his expression unreadable. I walk toward him, my defenses already up. "Can I help you?" I ask, my tone sharper than intended. He turns to me, his eyes cool and guarded. "I'm Lucas," he says. "I handle tree maintenance and land surveys for the county. Got a report about some diseased elms near the property line." He gestures toward the pink house, though it looks like the new owner has already done plenty of clearing. The new owner. The words sting like a slap. "I am the owner," I correct him, crossing my arms. "And that structure wasn't authorized by me." Lucas raises an eyebrow, a hint of skepticism crossing his face. "That's not what the lady in the pink palace told me," he says. "She said her niece was selling the place to a developer, and she was holding down the fort to save the family legacy. Said you were desperate for cash and didn't care about the land." The breath leaves my lungs. Gail didn't just steal my land. She stole my narrative. She painted me as the villain in my own story so she could play the hero. "I didn't sell anything," I say, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. "I'm an environmental restoration specialist. I've spent the last year in Brazil working on wetland preservation. My entire life is dedicated to protecting land like this." Lucas looks at me, really looks at me, for the first time. He takes in my worn hiking boots, the dirt under my fingernails, the genuine distress etched into my face. He glances back at the pink house where Brynn is currently visible on the balcony, tossing empty beer cans into the bushes below. "Well," he says slowly, his tone softening slightly, "if you're really about protection, you might want to check the creek bed down the ridge. I was down there yesterday checking the elm roots. Something smells wrong. And I don't mean dead trees." I don't wait for him to say more. I turn and head toward the cabin, grabbing my field testing kit from the porch. When I turn back, Lucas is still standing there. "You coming or not?" I ask. He hesitates for only a moment, then follows. We hike down the ridge in silence, the noise of Brynn's morning playlist fading behind us. The forest here is older, the canopy thick enough to filter the sunlight into green gold columns. This is where grandfather used to bring me to listen. Not to talk, just to listen. The sound of water moving over stones. The rustle of leaves. The silence between heartbeats. But as we get closer to the creek, the sounds are wrong. The birds are quieter here. The insects fewer. At the edge of the wetlands, I stop so abruptly that Lucas nearly walks into me. The water, which should be crystal clear, is murky and gray. White foam gathers at the edges of the bank, clinging to the rocks like diseased skin. The smell hits me a second later. Sweet. Rotten. unmistakable. Raw sewage. No, I whisper, my voice barely audible. I kneel at the water's edge, my hand trembling as I uncap a sample vial. The water is warm, unnatural. I can see an oily sheen on the surface. Lucas crouches beside me, his jaw tight. They didn't install a septic system, he says quietly. It's not a question. I shake my head, unable to speak. I dip the vial into the water, watching it fill with cloudy liquid. My mind is racing, calculating the damage. This wetland feeds into the main lake. The lake connects to 3 other bodies of water. The contamination could spread for miles. That's not just a code violation, Lucas says, his voice hard. That's environmental destruction. That's a felony. I look up at him and I realize tears are running down my face. I didn't know, I say, the words catching in my throat. I swear I didn't know. He meets my gaze, and the coolness in his eyes melts into something else. Understanding. Shared anger. I believe you, he says simply. He stands up, offering me his hand. I saw your cousin yesterday dumping paint cans behind the shed. I thought she was just careless, following orders to prep the land for sale. He pulls me to my feet, his grip steady. If you want to fight this, you're going to need more than water samples. You're going to need documentation, witness statements, a paper trail. I wipe my eyes with the back of my hand, leaving a smear of dirt across my cheek. I don't just want to fight it, I say, the resolve hardening in my chest. I want it gone. I want the land back the way it was. Lucas nods slowly. Then we'd better get started. We spend the rest of the day gathering evidence. Lucas knows the county systems inside and out. He shows me how to pull property records, how to request permit applications, how to file environmental complaints. By evening, we're sitting at my kitchen table, surrounded by papers and printouts. My mother left hours ago, after one last attempt to convince me to just talk to Gail. I didn't respond. Look at this, Lucas says, pointing to a document on his laptop screen. This is the building permit application for the guest house. I lean over to see. There, at the bottom, is a signature. My signature. Except it's not mine. The handwriting is looping and flamboyant, nothing like my own cramped scrawl. She forged it, I say, my voice flat. Lucas nods grimly. And it gets better. He pulls up another document. This is the environmental impact assessment that's required for any construction within 500 feet of protected wetlands. It was never filed. The permit shouldn't have been approved at all. I sit back in my chair, processing this. So the entire structure is illegal? From the ground up, Lucas confirms. And with the sewage discharge, you've got grounds for immediate condemnation. He looks at me seriously. But you need to understand, Sienna. If you push this, it's not going to be pretty. Your aunt will fight. Your family will take sides. And even if you win, tearing down that house is going to cost money. A lot of money. I think about the pink monstrosity sitting on top of grandfather's memory. I think about the poisoned water flowing into the lake. I think about the tree we planted together, buried under a concrete foundation. I don't care, I say. Whatever it costs, I'll pay it. Lucas studies me for a long moment, then nods. All right then. Let's call the county. The next morning, Officer Diana Miller from County Code Enforcement arrives in a white sedan. She's a middle-aged woman with steel gray hair and an expression that suggests she's seen every kind of violation imaginable. I meet her at the edge of the property with Lucas beside me. We walk her through everything. The forged permits, the sewage discharge, the destroyed wetlands. I hand her the water samples, the photographs, the documentation Lucas and I compiled. She doesn't say much, just makes notes on her tablet and takes her own photos. When we reach the creek, she kneels and tests the water herself. Her face goes pale. "This is a biohazard," she says flatly, standing up. "I need to see inside the structure." We walk back up to the guest house. The music is already playing, even though it's barely 10 a.m. Officer Miller walks up to the front door and knocks. Loudly. The music cuts off. A moment later, Gail opens the door. She's wearing a silk robe and holding a mimosa, her face already flushed with day drinking. "Can I help you?" she asks, her tone dripping with condescension. Officer Miller doesn't blink. "Ma'am, I'm with County Code Enforcement. I need to inspect this structure immediately. There have been reports of environmental violations." Gail's smile falters. "I don't know what you're talking about. This is private property." "Actually, this property belongs to Sienna Sullivan," Officer Miller says, nodding toward me. "And she has authorized this inspection." Gail's eyes snap to me, and for a moment I see something dangerous flicker across her face. "You called the county on your own family?" she hisses. "You called them on me?" I don't answer. I just stand there, my arms crossed. Officer Miller pushes past Gail into the house. We follow. Inside, the guest house is exactly what I expected. Cheap furniture trying to look expensive. Instagram-worthy decor with no substance. And everywhere, the faint smell of sewage that's been masked with scented candles. Officer Miller goes straight to the bathroom and opens the cabinet under the sink. She follows the pipes with her flashlight, then goes outside to trace them. 10 minutes later, she's back, her expression grim. "Ma'am, this structure has no connection to a septic system. The wastewater is being discharged directly into the protected wetlands. This is a violation of state and federal environmental law." Gail's face goes red. "That's impossible. I hired a contractor. He assured me everything was up to code." Officer Miller pulls out her tablet and shows Gail a series of photos. "There is no septic tank on this property. There is no drainage field. You are pumping raw sewage into a federally protected watershed." She reaches into her bag and pulls out a large red sticker. "This structure is condemned, effective immediately. You have 24 hours to vacate." She walks to the front door and slaps the sticker on it. The words are printed in bold black letters. "Do not occupy." Gail stares at the sticker, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "You can't do this," she finally sputters. "I have rights. I've been living here for months. I have squatters' rights." "That is not how property law works," Officer Miller says coldly. "And if you remove this notice, you will be arrested." She hands Gail a sheaf of papers. "You have 30 days to remove the structure, or the county will do it for you. You will be billed for the demolition and environmental remediation." With that, she turns and walks back to her car. I follow her, leaving Gail standing in the doorway, her face purple with rage. "Thank you," I say quietly. Officer Miller looks at me, and her expression softens slightly. "I've been doing this job for 20 years, she says. "I've seen a lot of entitled people destroy a lot of beautiful land. But this?" She shakes her head. "This is one of the worst." She gets into her car and drives away. I turn back toward the guest house. Gail is still standing in the doorway, the red tag bright against the pink paint. Our eyes meet across the distance. I see hatred there. And something else. Fear. As I walk back toward the main cabin, I hear the sound of the red sticker being ripped off the door. I turn around just in time to see Gail tearing it into pieces, throwing the scraps onto the ground and stomping on them. "You think you're so smart, Sienna," she screams across the yard. "Sending the government to do your dirty work. You're just jealous because Brynn has friends and a life, and you have nothing but dirt and dead trees. I pull out my phone and take a video of her destroying the legal notice. Another piece of evidence for the file. I don't respond to her words. There's nothing to say. She's already lost. She just doesn't know it yet. That night, I lie awake in the cabin, listening to the sound of defiance from the guest house. The music is louder than ever, the laughter more aggressive. Gail is digging in. She's not leaving. I think about what Lucas said. This is going to get ugly. But I also think about grandfather's compass, heavy in my hand. About the tree we planted together. About the land that was supposed to be my sanctuary. I get out of bed and walk to the window. Through the darkness, I can see lights blazing in every window of the pink house. A car pulls up and more people pile out, carrying cases of beer. Gail is throwing a party. A celebration. An act of war. I pull out my phone and text Lucas. Can you meet me tomorrow? I need your help with something. His reply comes almost immediately. I'll be there at dawn. I set the phone down and go back to bed. This time, sleep comes easier. I have a plan. The next 3 days are a blur of paperwork and phone calls. Lucas connects me with his network of contractors, environmental consultants, and county officials. We build a case that's airtight. Every forged signature, every violation, every lie Gail told. On the 3rd day, Lucas shows me something that makes my heart stop. It's an old survey map from 1987 when grandfather first bought this land. The property boundaries are clearly marked. Lucas points to the location of the guest house. See this? The setback requirement from the wetland buffer is 50 feet. The guest house is sitting 47 feet from the buffer line. Even if everything else was legal, which it's not, the structure violates basic zoning laws. It's not just illegal, I whisper. It's geometrically impossible for it to be legal. Lucas nods. I've already sent this to the county. They're going to update their demolition order to reflect this. That night, I sit alone in the cabin, looking at the folder of evidence we've compiled. It's 3 inches thick now. Every page, a nail in Gail's coffin. My phone rings. It's my mother. Sienna, please, she says without preamble. Just talk to Gail. She's willing to compromise. Maybe she can stay in the house and pay you rent, or... Mom, I interrupt. She poisoned grandfather's land. She forged my signature. She lied to everyone. And she's not sorry. She's just scared because she got caught. There's a long silence. She's my sister, my mother finally says, her voice small. I know, I reply. And I wish that meant she treated you better too. But it doesn't change what I have to do. I hang up before she can respond. The deadline from the county is set for Saturday. Gail has to vacate by noon. On Friday night, I get a text from Lucas. You need to see this. He sends me a link to Facebook. It's an event page. Grand opening, Brynn's Lakeside Retreat. The guest house, photographed in golden hour lighting. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Come celebrate with us as we officially open our beautiful new space. I stare at the screen, my anger turning to something colder. Clarity. She's not vacating. She's doubling down. She's inviting witnesses, trying to create a social fait accompli. If enough people see the house, celebrate it, treat it as legitimate, she thinks I won't be able to tear it down. I text Lucas back. Can you get the heavy equipment here by 2 p.m. tomorrow? His response is immediate. Already arranged. I'll bring the sheriff too. Saturday arrives with deceptive beauty. Clear skies, gentle breeze, the kind of day grandfather would have called a gift. I watch from the cabin as cars begin arriving at the guest house around noon. Extended family I haven't seen in years. Neighbors Gail has charmed with her Lees. Church friends. Brynn's college roommates. By 1 p.m., there are at least 40 people crowded onto the patio and lawn. Balloons are tied to the railings. There's a table laden with food. Gail is holding court in the center, wearing a glittery cocktail dress. She's telling a story, gesturing grandly, and I can see people laughing. Brynn is filming everything on her phone, narrating for her followers. My mother is there too, standing near the edge of the crowd, looking uncomfortable but present. I stay in the cabin, watching through the window, waiting. At 2 p.m., I hear it. A low rumble, deep enough to feel in my chest. The music from the party falters. People stop mid-conversation, looking around. Then, through the trees, it appears. A massive yellow bulldozer, its blade gleaming in the afternoon sun. Behind it, a sheriff's cruiser, lights flashing but sirens silent. Another deputy vehicle brings up the rear. The machines roll into the clearing and come to a stop at the edge of the lawn. The party goes completely silent. People set down their drinks and plates, staring. I step out of the cabin and walk toward the scene. Lucas is in the cab of the bulldozer, his expression calm and professional. Sheriff Reynolds steps out of the cruiser, adjusting his hat. Gail pushes through the crowd, her face already red. What is the meaning of this? She shrieks. Sienna, what have you done? We're having a celebration. Sheriff Reynolds doesn't look at her immediately. Instead, he pulls out a clipboard and reads from it in a flat, official tone. This is a formal notice of eviction and demolition. On May 15th, this structure was condemned by county code enforcement due to multiple violations of state and federal law. The owner of this property, Sienna Sullivan, has authorized the immediate removal of this illegal structure. All persons present have 10 minutes to vacate the premises before demolition begins. The crowd erupts in confused murmurs. I see people looking at me, at Gail, trying to figure out what's happening. Gail plants herself in front of the bulldozer, arms spread wide. "This is my home," she screams. "You can't just tear it down. My father owned this land. I have a right to be here." Sheriff Reynolds walks over to her, his deputies flanking him. "Ma'am, your father left this property to Sienna Sullivan in his will. You have no legal claim to this land or this structure." He pulls out another document. This building was constructed without proper permits, on protected wetlands, and is actively discharging sewage into a federally protected water source. That is a crime. If you do not move, you will be charged with obstruction. Gail looks around wildly, trying to rally support from the crowd. But people are already backing away, some heading quickly to their cars. No one wants to be associated with acrimine scene. "Mom," Brynn says from the doorway, her phone still in her hand, filming. "Mom, maybe we should just go." Gail whirls on her daughter, her face twisted. "Don't you dare. This is our house. Sienna is trying to steal it from us because she's always been jealous of our family." The lie hangs in the air, but this time, it has no power. Everyone here can see the red tag on the door. Everyone heard the sheriff read the violations. The truth is too loud to ignore. Sheriff Reynolds nods to his deputies. They move forward, gently but firmly, taking Gail by the arms. She struggles, screaming obscenities, but they guide her away from the building. Brynn follows, crying, still filming the whole thing. "You have 10 minutes to remove any personal belongings," Sheriff Reynolds announces to the stragglers. After that, the building comes down. A few people rush inside, grabbing purses and phones. One of Brynn's friends runs out, clutching a designer handbag. I see my mother standing alone near the food table, tears running down her face. Our eyes meet across the yard. She looks at me like she's seeing me for the first time. Then she turns and walks to her car without a word. 10 minutes later, the property is clear. Sheriff Reynolds gives me a nod. Your call, Miss Sullivan. I walk over to the bulldozer and look up at Lucas in the cab. He's waiting, his hands on the controls, his expression asking a silent question. I think about grandfather, about the way he loved this land, not for what it could give him, but for what it was. I think about the tree we planted together, crushed under this foundation. I think about the poisoned water, the destroyed wetlands, the violated boundaries. I look at the pink house, garish and wrong against the backdrop of ancient forest. Do it, I say. Lucas nods once. He pulls a lever and the engine's roar deepens. The bulldozer moves forward. The blade lifts, then drives into the front wall of the guest house. The impact is louder than I expected. The cheap stucco crumbles like dry cake, the faux Greek columns collapsing into piles of foam and plaster. The pink paint peels away in sheets. Behind me, I hear Gail scream, a raw sound of anguish and rage. The blade pulls back, then strikes again. This time, it takes out a support beam. The balcony sags, then collapses entirely. The banner that said Brynn's Birthday Bash disappears into the rubble. I watch as the second floor comes down, the walls folding in on themselves like a house of cards. The white shag rug is buried under drywall and broken furniture. I watch, and I wait for guilt to come. I've been trained my whole life to feel guilty for standing up for myself, for saying no, for having boundaries. But as the roof caves in, exposing the sky where a ceiling used to be, I don't feel guilt. I feel free. The demolition takes less than an hour. By the time Lucas shuts off the bulldozer, there's nothing left but a pile of rubble and the exposed foundation. The earth beneath is dark and scarred, soaked with the sewage that was never properly contained. I walk over to inspect the damage. In the wreckage, I see fragments of Brynn's life. A shattered mirror, a crushed laptop, and there, half buried in the dirt, a small wooden box I recognize. I kneel and pull it out, brushing off the dust. It's grandfather's memory box, the one that disappeared after he died. Inside are old photographs, letters, his war medals. Gail took them. She took them and hid them here, in her stolen house, like trophies. I close the box and stand up, holding it against my chest. Lucas climbs down from the bulldozer and walks over to me. You okay? He asks quietly. I nod. Yeah, I'm okay. He looks at the destruction, then back at me. What now? Now, I say, looking at the raw earth, we make it right. The invoice arrives 3 weeks later. I open it at my kitchen table, Lucas sitting across from me with his morning coffee. Demolition, $12,000. Hazardous waste disposal, $8,000. Environmental remediation of wetlands, $65,000. Legal fees and administrative costs, $5,000. Total, $90,000. I forward the invoice directly to Gail's lawyer with a cover letter exercising my right to reimbursement for costs incurred due to her illegal actions. Her lawyer responds within 24 hours, trying to negotiate. I don't negotiate. 2 weeks later, I receive notice that Gail has put her house on the market. She'll have to sell it to pay the judgment. My phone rings constantly during this time. Relatives I haven't heard from in years, calling to tell me I'm cruel, heartless, vindictive. I let most of the calls go to voicemail. One message is from Gail herself, her voice thick with tears. I just wanted to matter, she sobs into the recording. I wanted to feel important, to have something that was mine. How could you do this to family? Don't you remember when I took care of you when your mother was in the hospital? I remember. Of course I remember. I was 7, scared and alone. Gail had taken me in, made me hot cocoa when I had nightmares, told me everything would be okay. For 2 weeks, she was the aunt I needed. But that was 25 years ago. And kindness from the past doesn't buy immunity for cruelty in the present. I delete the voicemail. The only call I return is from my mother. She asks if we can meet. I agree, but only at the property. She needs to see what I'm fighting for. She arrives on a Tuesday afternoon, carrying something wrapped in burlap. We stand together at the edge of the cleared site. The demolition company has already removed most of the rubble. What's left is scarred earth and the exposed foundation, which will be broken up and removed next week. I'm sorry, my mother says quietly. I should have protected you. I should have said no to Gail years ago. I don't respond immediately. I watch a pair of birds land on a nearby oak, unbothered by our presence. Why didn't you? I finally ask. She's silent for a long moment. Because she's my little sister, she says. When we were kids, I was always the responsible one, the one who had to take care of her. And I guess I never stopped, even when she stopped deserving it. She unwraps the burlap, revealing a young oak sapling, its roots wrapped carefully in damp soil. I thought maybe we could plant this, she says. Together, where the other one was. I take the sapling from her, feeling the weight of it. It's not the same tree. Nothing will ever replace the one grandfather and I planted. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is to keep planting even after things are destroyed. We dig the hole together, side by side, not talking much. When we're done, my mother stands and wipes dirt from her hands. She looks at me, really looks at me, for the first time in a long time. You're stronger than I ever was, she says. Your grandfather would be proud. I don't know if that's true, but I want to believe it. After she leaves, I stay at the site for a while, looking at the new tree. It's small and fragile, barely 3 feet tall, but it's alive. And it's in the right place now. My phone buzzes. A text from Lucas. Soil tests came back. Contamination levels are back to baseline. The creek is running clear. I smile and type back. Good. When can we start replanting the buffer zone? His response comes quickly. Tomorrow morning. I'll bring coffee. The next few weeks are a blur of physical work. Lucas and I spend long days replanting native species along the creek bed. Ferns, wild ginger, trillium. The plants that were here before Gail's construction crew tore them out. It's hard work, back-breaking and dirty. But it's also healing. Every time I put a plant in the ground, I feel a little more of the wrongness being corrected. Lucas is a good teacher, showing me how to read the soil, how to place plants where they'll thrive. We work mostly in silence, the way I used to work with grandfather. But it's not an uncomfortable silence. It's the kind grandfather loved, the kind that says more than words. One afternoon, we take a break by the creek. The water is clear again, flowing over stones the way it used to. I can see minnows darting in the shallows. Lucas opens a thermos of coffee and pours 2 cups. This silence, he says, handing me a cup. This is what he meant, wasn't it? Your grandfather. I nod, wrapping my hands around the warm mug. Yeah. He used to say that silence isn't empty. It's full, if you know how to listen. Lucas takes a sip of his coffee, looking out at the water. I get it now, he says. Why you fought so hard. It wasn't just about the house. It was about this. He gestures to the forest around us, the restored creek, the healing land. I lean back against a tree, feeling their bark through my shirt. My whole life, I've been told that family comes first. That blood is thicker than water. But grandfather taught me something different. I look at Lucas. He taught me that some bonds are chosen, not given. And sometimes the land itself is family. Lucas meets my gaze and nods slowly. We sit there until the sun starts to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. But this time, the pink doesn't make me angry. It's just a sunset, beautiful and temporary, the way things are supposed to be. 6 months later, the land looks almost normal again. The foundation has been removed, the soil replaced with clean earth. Native grasses have started to fill in the scars. I'm standing at the edge of the clearing when I hear a car pull up. I turn, half expecting my mother, but it's a couple I don't recognize, probably in their 30s. They get out and look around uncertainly. "Excuse me," the woman calls out. "Are you Sienna Sullivan?" I walk over, cautious. "Yes." The woman smiles. "We're the Hendersons. We bought your aunt's house." My stomach tightens. "Oh." The man steps forward, extending his hand. "We wanted to introduce ourselves. We're your new neighbors." I shake his hand, still wary. "And we wanted to say thank you," the woman adds. I blink. "Thank you?" She nods. "We heard what happened. With the illegal construction, the environmental violations, we almost bought this property instead, before we knew it was already owned. If you hadn't fought that battle, this place would probably be a strip mall by now." The man gestures to the forest. "This is special, what you're protecting here. We wanted you to know that we support it. If you ever need anything, neighbors who understand, we're here." I feel an unexpected warmth in my chest. "Thank you," I say. "That means a lot." They leave after a few more minutes of friendly conversation. I watch their car disappear down the road. New neighbors. Good ones, maybe. It's a start. That evening, I sit on the porch of the cabin with grandfather's compass in my hand. The brass is still worn smooth, the needle still pointing true north. I think about boundaries. Physical ones, marked on maps and surveys. And personal ones, the invisible lines that define where we end and others begin. For so long, I let people cross my boundaries because I thought that's what family meant. But grandfather understood something I'm only now learning. The strongest boundaries aren't walls meant to keep people out. They're foundations that hold up the things worth protecting. I close the compass and look out at the darkening forest. Somewhere in the shadows, the new oak tree is growing. It's still small, still vulnerable, but it's rooted in good soil now, and it will grow tall. I'm sure of it. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I want to ask you something important. If you were in my shoes, would you have given Gail one more chance? Or was the bulldozer the only answer? Team Second Chance or Team Bulldozer? Let me know in the comments below. And tell me, where do you draw the line between helping family and protecting yourself? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.